Welcome in, Braves Today podcast. He's Lindsay Crosby. I'm Ben Taylor, Braves_today on the Twitter. Other than that, you just go to bravestoday.com and find us there. Lindsay, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Mentor, mentor, mentor. I said going into the Marlins series, I really don't want him seeing the mound. Give him the rest. He's seen way too many, made way too many appearances. You brought those numbers up to me before we got on the air. I really want him to take a break. I like literally leave him in Atlanta when they go to New York this weekend. And I'm not saying that like because I hate him. I'm saying that because I think he's spent right now.
Yeah, this game was his 13th appearance of the season. And you've not played a ton of games. And like the pace is unsustainable. His high in appearances was last year was 75. And you could see that even then, that was too much. He was wearing down. A typical reliever's looking at, 60 appearances is kind of normal, but already being at 12 right now has him on track to hit that 75 mark. And it's too much. He threw twice in this series. And just about every series, he's thrown multiple days, including, not this time, but including a lot of back-to-backs. And it's just something where you've got to give him a break. Colin McHugh is back, so he can take some innings. Raisel Iglesias is on a rehab assignment in Gwinnett right now, so he'll be back soon. You can give A.J. Minter a little bit of a break just to let the arm rest and kind of get his mind right again after he's had a couple blown saves here.
He had the save a couple of nights ago, but then I told you the final game of the Marlins series, that was one of those things where 4-0, you're heading into the ninth, and I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, we're good. I start doing stuff around the house. I come back. There's a run on the board. I don't think anything of it. Next thing I know, I come back, sit down. There's another run on the board, another couple of runs on the board. And at that point, I was like, yank him, get him out of there.
Yeah.
Why is somebody not up there? Clearly, he was throwing grapefruits up there. And I want to be completely clear. I do not want you to sit him because of his performance. I want you to sit him because he's tired. That's at the point that I'm at right now. So it's inexcusable in my opinion. It was not any errors, any fielding issues. I do think at the end of the ball game, even Ronald Acuna tried to get to a ball. He probably could have cut it off better if he'd have taken the angle, but I think he was going to try to lay out and try to make a game-saving diving catch at the end. So that ball goes to the wall, 2-run score off of that. And it just compiled and got worse from there. And then the bottom of the ninth hitting order just didn't do anything. I don't even think they put the ball in play at all, hardly. So it's just something that it leaves a bad taste in your mouth before you head to New York.
Yeah, you have a great games 1 through 3 of the series. Obviously, you scored plenty of runs. You held the Marlins off the board for the most part, other than some solo shots last night. And then this happens in game 4. It's not a great start, but heading to New York, you have the ability to kind of reset. You get to refocus because you're facing a good team or one of your rivals, and your rotation kind of lines up a lot better than theirs does as far as who's going to go. And yep. you have to feel like you have the advantage, even though you are going to New York with the lineup over the weekend.
I will say this, and you'd mentioned it too a little bit earlier with me. We're already starting out on the wrong foot because of a delay that took place with Atlanta with rain that moved through the area, 3 hours and 20 minutes, whatever it was, that they got started late. That messes with travel plans. That messes with everything from meal time to, getting to the ballpark probably at a different hour tomorrow because they're going to allow them to sleep a little bit and rest and try to mix it up. So it's not starting out great for the Braves who head to New York. And New York is, they're licking their chops to get a shot at the Braves. Even though we make fun of the Mets always metting, that the Mets are going to met, they still get pumped. They've done this for years. Everything from the chipper days of Larry, they already can't stand Acuna because they think he's flashy, even though they've got their own flashy issues, but they don't seem to care about that. They just point at him. So the Braves have got a hill to climb.
Yeah, for the Mets, this is their Super Bowl. They are geared up for this. They are ready to go. There's been discussion about Max Scherzer's suspension, suspended for 10 games after the ejection, automatic suspension, and there are rumors that the reason he dropped the appeal was so that if the suspension would start immediately, he would be back and available for game 4 versus the Braves. If that kind of tells you how big of a deal this is to the Mets, and arguably how much bigger of a deal it is to the Mets than it is to the Braves. To the Braves, this is just another series against a good team. To the Mets, again, this is their Super Bowl. But Braves will have Max Fried on Friday night. You love having your Friday night guy versus David Peterson, matchup of the lefties. Saturday, you're looking at Tyler Megill for the Mets versus Spencer Strider. That'll be a Fox broadcast in the middle of the afternoon. Sunday is a day game, Charlie Morton versus Jose Butto. And then Monday, the afternoon getaway, 1:10 Eastern, Bryce Elder versus, they haven't announced it, but versus Max Scherzer for the final game of the series.
Yeah, they don't have him in there right now. I've told you before, I think Scherzer, I'm not a Met fan by any means. I think he totally got railroaded. Those of you that have seen examples of what all took place and him, and if you haven't heard the story, if you've been under a rock or just not paying attention because it's the Mets and they're out of market and you just didn't really follow it, he was asked to why. He got warned all 3 innings before he was ejected in the 4th. He had to switch gloves at one point. He had to wash his hands, and the protocol now is you wash your hands with basically rubbing alcohol. And then since their hands sweat, then he puts rosin on his hands, and alcohol and rosin do not mix. And so it creates a tacky stickiness. It basically leads to pitchers cheating the more the umpires make them wash their hands.
Yeah.
And if you have not seen the video of David Cone showing an example of that, at one point in time, he literally held a ball up with just 2 fingers in the ball. And that was from him washing his hands once. That's not doing it 3 times on 3 different innings and still getting busted. So Scherzer did it just because, as you said, I'm with you. I think he dropped the appeal because he just wants to play. And pitchers serving 10 games as opposed to Ronald Acuna serving 10 games are 2 different things, because they still count the pitchers, even if they're in a 5-day rotation, 5-man rotation, then those games count, even though they never are going to see the field anyway.
You missed 2 starts in essence.
And so that's what it seems like he's done. Again, as Lindsay said, they haven't announced that he's going to be pitching Scherzer. Max Scherzer is going to be pitching on Monday, but I got a sneaky suspicion that's who we're going to see take the bump for the Mets. And who knows if the Braves get started off on the wrong foot. The best news is what you just said: Fried getting things started on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean,
the way he's been playing.
Having Fried and Strider 1 and 2 has to make you feel really good. Fried is technically only 1-0 on the year because he hasn't had as many starts, but his ERA 0.60. And then right behind him, Spencer Strider 3-0 with a 1.80 ERA. Spencer Strider leads all of baseball in strikeouts per 9 innings. Him and Jacob deGrom are kind of neck and neck. And then I want to say they're in the 14s. And then after them, it's Shohei Ohtani, like right around 12 strikeouts per 9. Like, it's just Spencer Strider's on another plane of existence right now. And so having those 2 guys leading off the series make me feel really good when we make our predictions a little bit later that the Braves are going to at least win 2 of these games, simply because you have your 2 best guys going against their 2 of their guys that have a collective ERA added together of almost 10.
Yep. I will say that the Braves, during the Marlins series, you mentioned it, going back a little bit, they had a great first 3 games. I really thought they were going to walk away with a sweep. Probably should have, except for again, blowing it by Minter in the 9th. But other than that, everybody looked good. Olsen, he's still swinging at some bad pitches, it seems like. And I don't know what his numbers were strikeout wise, because he did have a couple of big knocks that really helped the Braves out. Acuna still is absolutely on fire and doesn't seem like anybody has his number or can figure out what to do with him.
Ronald Acuna Jr. is, I mean, he's on the top of the leaderboards for multiple different categories at this point. He's leading in hits, he's leading in plate appearances, he's leading in stolen bases, he's leading in runs scored. He is absolutely playing like the MVP candidate that we know he can be, and hit a home run the other day. So he's doing the other half of the 40-40 tracker. At this rate, he may have 40 steals by the All-Star break at this rate. And then you're just looking at getting the home runs in the back half of the schedule. He is the complete package. He's making things happen defensively. He is running this offense, and provided that some of the guys behind him can do some work. We saw Austin Riley strike out 4 times on Thursday, but provided that those guys can have just standard games, average games, the Braves are going to score plenty of runs.
I really want Riley to step it up a little bit. Acuna's doing his job, as we talked about, and Olson's doing probably a layman's work. He's still not doing as what my expectations are for him. But
Mm-hmm.
As you and I mentioned a couple of pods ago, I can't complain that much. I asked for a 260 to 285 guy. That's what I'm getting right now. I just can really do without the strikeouts and him leaving guys out there at second base and leaving guys. Because that's the thing. When Acuna makes his way around the third, just find a way to get in the ball in the air. Like a short fly ball, Acuna's going to make it to the plate unless somebody's just got an absolute hose in the outfield. And see, Acuna's smart enough. He knows what player that is. So he's not, we've seen it already this year. He hasn't tested some arms, but then others, he doesn't think twice about it. He knows that number one, they can't get it there. And if they do, they're, the percentages being on target are just not that great. So he doesn't worry about it. So, those guys step up a little bit. This could be one of those, I don't want to say make or breaks here. We're way too far early in the season to talk about this, but I really don't want the momentum of the last game of the Marlins series to go over into New York. Fried finally have an off night and it start out on the wrong foot. Strider's due for an off night. It continue on the wrong foot. And then Scherzer pitching on Monday, which is probably going to happen, could make things even worse before it's all said and done with.
Yeah. I think the Braves are fortunate with the way the rotation breaks out. I don't think we're going to see the big stumble from both Fried and Strider. Strider did struggle a little bit early. A lot of people kind of, because he's been so good recently, he had kind of talked about after the first start or two, he had been trying to pace himself so he could go deeper into games, feeling like he needed to eat more innings as one of the, the only healthy pitchers that we had. And they kind of talked to him a bit and said, hey, just let it eat. Do your thing. We'll take care of the rest. And since then, he's been back to Spencer Strider from last year. So I feel like he's kind of gotten a little bit of the not great stuff out of his system. I feel really good about picking at least a 2-2 split, if not a 3-1 series win by Atlanta.
I will go 2-2 split. I don't think it's 3. I think we go in. The Mets are 2.5 back now. I think they remain 2.5 back. I think it's a 2-2 split as we get back from New York, which I would take that. I would call that a win. That's not losing any ground. And so I'll take that. What I want to totally avoid is number one, a sweep. I don't know that's going to happen. Braves 10-2 on the season right now on the road. So if they can continue that hot streak of being that hot on the road, which they seem to kind of take joy in, then we could be looking at a Braves sweep as the best outcome that takes place. And I got to tell you, with what took place in the ninth on the final game, Snedeker's usually the type that he's kind of a guy that says his mind in the locker room and in the clubhouse, and he may look at him and go, this is unacceptable. This can't happen. And it may rejuvenate him a little bit, and he'll remind them of their 10-2 record and the expectations that come away from New York. So I still say 2-2 split.
Yeah. 2-2 split feels safe. I'd love 3-1. I feel like 2-2 is the safest way to do it. Just simply looking at the pitching matchups and how good this offense is, and especially how good Ronald Acuna has been, knowing that the Mets are kind of an unspoken thing people don't talk about. The Mets are missing their starting catcher, Omar Narvaez, right now. And so you have an offensive first catcher and a rookie that's back there playing along with a career backup catcher. So I feel good about the ability to take some stolen bases, even though a lot of stolen bases are on the pitchers, not the catchers. I still feel good about Acuna's chances of making havoc on the base paths. I'll predict 3 stolen bases this weekend, and I'm probably going to be too low.
Yeah, that probably will be with Acuna. He's Lindsay Crosby. I'm Ben Taylor. It's Braves Today, bravestoday.com or Braves_today on Twitter. Lindsay, as always, I greatly appreciate it, sir.
Thanks for having me. Chop on.